We had discussed this last, I guess it was 2 weeks ago now when we talked about this, or last, yeah, that we weren't expecting to see a lot, but we were going to try and get some more progress towards the doing. Um, Switch from Skype to IRC. I think we should count that as accepted. Is that all right with everybody else?
Yep.
All right. I know a lot of these cards are making progress, but I don't think they're completely done. So the database model, which is now just the user screens, I don't think. All right, Chris is on, but Dave's not. Dave has almost got this done. I did a review on it and asked him to make some changes to remove some code that he had that we didn't need to implement. So we simplified that. I know he's got coming in. He's got to pull that. So that's nearly done, but not quite. Uh, CI tool. Victor, are you on? Victor's not here. Um, so this was, I would say, blocked. Not really blocked while we did the migration move, but this is still ongoing. I don't think it's quite done yet. It's making
Well, there were
progress.
some updates that maybe the SUSE folks were looking for.
Okay.
I think, I don't know, Adam, if you saw them, things around being able to tell what builds a pull request affects, and well, various metadata about pull requests, pending pull requests.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw all that.
Is that stuff that you guys can start consuming towards your OBS?
Um, I guess. Well, not really until we have automated integration tests in place. It's I mean, it's definitely going to be useful in the future, but we're not there yet.
So what
I
I'm
mean, the main
Go ahead.
advantage of that is the grouping, right? That so if you submit a multiple pull requests that are logic, then you can do like a full set of integration tests on that logical group.
Yeah, and I think you had in email there were a set of issues around, okay, so now I know that these things change. What builds do they affect? How do I figure out if it's something that affects only the Red Hat build or that affects the OpenStack build, only the Crowbar build without OpenStack? And I think Victor made good progress towards having being able to query pending pull requests and identifying what is affected by that pull request. But
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he's done since we last discussed it, but as far as I was concerned, if we just kept that metadata in flat files within the metadata repository, then it would be easy to build any custom queries that we needed just by doing basic Unix file operations.
yeah, I think he needed to add information to bar clamps around what builds. So it was outside of the dev tool itself, and the bar clamps themselves, you needed additional information. But can probably Victor's not here, and I might be making a mush of things, so it might be worth a little whatever chat to see if there's enough of the dev tool now to let you make progress on the build environment.
Yeah, it'd be good to get an update on that from him.
And we weren't, because we know that you guys are a lot on vacation. We weren't expecting you guys to pick that up quite yet. But if you're ready to, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've just come back, and the rest of the team won't be active much until next week. So yeah, very little has happened, I think, over the last couple of weeks. from our side.
Okay. So I'm hoping this one part of this checklist is very close. So I'm hoping this should close in the next sprint. So those are both these two cards are both very close. If somebody doesn't mind helping take notes, that would be awesome. Just to okay. Adam, the next four are all SUSE managed cards. Do you want to talk to him?
Yeah, I think my join me has stopped updating for some reason. Let me just reload it.
Is the share working for other people? Sometimes I forget to hit play.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it's updating now. I think sometimes it just gets stuck. So, yeah, there's pretty much no change since last time, except for the tidy up all good packages. One of my changes has been accepted upstream for that. But I don't think there's anything else to report on those. I'll try and knock the rationalization one on the head maybe this week, because that's just publishing that diagram basically, which is going to be a big help for like helping people outside my team understand what we've designed and how it all fits together. So that won't take long. And we're pretty much there for the packaging as well. I think the only outstanding issues there now is just how to do Sledgehammer, because we have an old Sledgehammer build, which just a revamp of Sledgehammer on Sledge, but
Please press any key to remain in conference.
is that me that I?
No. Sorry, that's me. I have this bridge to another into a Dell internal number that sometimes people use.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the Sledgehammer thing, there's some licensing issues. Like, I don't think we can publish a Sledgehammer on the build service because it basically contains a mini SLES distribution, and that would incorporate all the updates, which we limit publishing of SLES updates for obvious reasons, because that's our value add in the enterprise model. But we can certainly build an OpenSUSE based version of Sledgehammer. So we definitely want to do that. And in fact, for people who, like, hypothetically, if there were people out there in the Crowbar community who wanted to test Crowbar on SLES without paying for SUSE Cloud, if they were just interested in sort of upstream Crowbar development but wanted to test on SLES to be nice to, potentially, I guess they could use the OpenSUSE Sledgehammer build even when the rest of the packages were based on SLES, because it's just a bootstrapping thing. So I guess that would work. I don't know.
I mean, we do the same thing with the rail-based release. We still use CentOS for the Sledgehammer, and actually for the Ubuntu. we only use one OS for that.
Yeah.
So basing on OpenSUSE would make a lot of sense.
Yeah. So I'll certainly. I mean, I've already been thinking about how to do that build.
You might want to hold on this for a little bit, because we've been talking about some changes, basically making Sledgehammer be dumber. Because right now it still has some smarts in it, and changing a little how the whole mechanism that triggers chef client executions in Sledgehammer is done. So
Okay.
if there's a lot of prep work, this should hopefully come in within the next sprint, at least the beginnings of it. Um,
Okay.
so if
Well,
there's run work to be set, by all means, but expect to have to rebuild it sometime not very far off.
okay. Yeah, that's no problem. I mean, I think most of the work from our end on that is just on the packaging side of getting the image building mechanism um, up and running inside a package, and that we'll do that using our Kiwi image building tool, like we did for SUSE Cloud 1.0, and that. So if there are any changes to the actual contents of the smarts inside Sledgehammer, then that will just be a question of tweaking the XML Kiwi description file to say, okay, instead of startup.sh or whatever, then we need another file, or that the actual Sledgehammer oriented work in there is relatively minimal compared to just all the sort of packaging, trimmings, and all that.
Fair enough.
So while you guys are talking, I think I'm trying to capture some of the backlog of design topics we need to talk about. Because we haven't really been having these regular design meetings to review some of the actual design pieces, and I think we need to I can easily see an hour. I know we're going to need an hour on the Rails engines piece, which we're planning to do next week. The Sledgehammer stuff that Andy's talking about. We need to review that. See the dev tool review. We already knew we had to do that. We have to talk through the CMDB integration work we've been doing. That needs to be done publicly. Schedule. I think we need to do that. We'll do that next week. Probably during maybe this time slot next week. I have that's something for the process. Does that sound good? I want to make sure we do these things in a way that you guys can influence the design and see what we're thinking. I don't want it to just show up in code.
Yeah, that would be really great. And I think as just a general observation, like the more, I mean, it's really cool that I'm getting heads up for these things now. But it would be even cooler if there was a heads up on the mailing list for. I think it'd be definitely better to sort of spam us with too much design info and ideas of what you're working on the list than too little. I don't think there's much danger of us getting sort of drowned in information on the Crowbar list. So yeah, things like, hey, we're planning some changes to Sledgehammer, or this is the latest on the DevTool metadata tracking or whatever. Even if it's just like a one-off email every week or two on each of these topics, then that kind of can spark off design discussions on the mailing list, which I think asynchronous is, because of the time zone challenges. I think that's going to work.
Well,
it's definitely going to be a help. And I noticed that members of my team seem to generally prefer email to actually turning up to conference calls as well. So combination of the mailing list and IRC is probably going to bear a bit more fruit. But having said that, I'm definitely not opposed to having extra calls for these things as well. I think we can cover a lot of ground very quickly with the ad hoc calls.
Well, I think we've been trying to do a much better job in terms of having meaningful, commit messages, but also pull request messages. Are those effective at all?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. Good commit messages are always a massive help, and it was only recently that it actually occurred to me to subscribe to the GitHub repository, so I would actually get notifications by email of pull requests. So, I'm now seeing those, and I know James is actively looking at those and helping with reviewing. I should be doing a better job of that, but I haven't
I
managed
was
to so far.
I was trying to kind of propose those as an alternative to lots and lots of emails saying effectively what just went in a commit message.
That
So
sounds really cool, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
because I think Victor in particular has been letting his prosaic nature loose on some of the pull request messages, which are pretty good.
Yeah, that's great. And actually, yeah, now I'm thinking about this, it makes me suspect that I haven't
Please
tried
press any
this.
key to remain in conference.
All right, I'm dropping that part of the bridge.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about it. I'm probably not getting all the pull requests and seeing all of that, so I should go through and check which repositories I am actually subscribed to for notifications, and I suspect it'd be worth me encouraging the rest of the team, or at least interested parties, to sign up to those as well, so we get visibility of all the stuff that's happening. But yeah, actually, I think that's a great idea, Andy. Of using those as a communication medium. I mean, that's just, it seems to be the way that the OpenStack community is oriented as well, and it obviously works very well there.
Right. And one of the big disciplines for us is just trying to drive our internal conversations to the IRC, and we're getting better at that. We're catching each other and pushing them out there. So.
Yeah, it'll take. It's a culture change, so it'll take a bit of time, but it always seems to be happening, moving in the right direction. So optimistic about that.
Just a word of warning about pull requests. So we don't typically generate pull requests for the Crowbar repo itself. So for that, you would need to look at the commit history, not the pull request history.
Okay.
Huh. Yeah, we might need to think about that because we're going to start driving docs and some things like that into there. That's interesting. All right, guys. I want to try and stay focused on the review because we're almost halfway through. All right. Adam, did you anything else you want to add in the SUSE pieces?
No, don't think so.
I'm so close to this, it's driving me nuts. It took me longer to untangle some of my my work in the CMDB model. The job became bigger because I ended up having to touch more. So these pieces are basically, the code's complete, and I'm getting the last tests going. This already works, but I want some tests that I can validate it, which I haven't done yet. And we probably need to split this into a whole nother story. Yeah, this Andy, I'm gonna split this one. This one, we'll do that later, because I don't want this to keep.
This might actually.
I thought we already split it.
So did I. I think.
Oh, I'm gonna convert this to a card. Now that they have this handy feature in here. There we go. Okay. I like it. That was easy. Okay, so these things are going to finish by the end of the week. All those pieces are in here. Judd, who's I don't see on the call, is working on these pieces. I'm tempted to split this. Can I split just this one list? Alright, move. No, I can't move the whole. I thought there was a way to move just the list.
Well, we can split it when we complete all
Switch
the
to
other
planning.
things.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'll do that. But anyway, so these are close, um, frustratingly close. Updating the user docs is in progress. Wayne, you're on. Do you know anything of where this stands?
Well, the last I heard, Surya and team were in the process of splitting up the document they converted, but I haven't heard anything since then. I assume their long vacation holiday is intervening. So we should be hearing back from them soon. I'll send them some email today and touch base.
Okay, cool. And those will move, but the structure shouldn't change. I can explain that. Actually, I sent the email, so I'm not going to spend more of this time on it. Network bar clamp deallocate. Chris, you're on.
What do you want me to say?
Status? Yeah, status. And when you think it'll complete.
Yeah, so... I'm sorry, what was that?
And when you think it'll complete. Sorry, cut you off.
So I completed implementation on it. I wrote model level unit tests, service level unit tests, and got those tested. I am currently working on BDD level unit tests. I completed the allocate test yesterday and got that all working. I still have to do the deallocate test. I have not started on the switching over the locking scheme yet. I just removed the locking scheme that was in there for Crowbar 1.0. So that needs to be done, and I believe that I need to hook this into CMDB somehow so that the allocated IP address is visible. So not exactly sure how to do that. Don't know anything about the integration with CMDB at this point. But those are the remaining bits and pieces that need to be done. So provided that we plan to work on those this coming sprint, I would imagine they'll be done this coming sprint.
Okay, I'm adding the task. So I'm describing that as integrate with the CMDB, so that it's going to provide to engine. All right, there we go. So the idea is that once you've stored the data in the model, you have to be able to provide it so that Chef can then take action on it. Does that sound like a fair? We'll talk about this a little bit more, but I'm sort of bridging over into planning on that.
I'm sorry, I'm not watching the share.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
just tried to maximize it and it all blew up.
That's cool.
See.
I'll tell you what I typed. So what I typed was integrate with CMDB, because that you had identified that as another action that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. So I added that to the list. Good.
Yep. That's pretty much it.
Okay. And one of the things that I think is going to happen with this card is this is going to end up forcing some design conversations. So we'll make sure those happen publicly. But the work Andy's doing to push data into Andy's doing the work that pushes data into the CMDB system and then out to Chef. So Chris, you and Andy will need to coordinate on that, but we'll do it. We'll try and get the whole team involved, and then Judd and I are working on the opposite side, which is the read pieces back in from Chef data and then out into the system. So, oh, cool. Is Judd on? Judd, did you join? Okay, I can speak to what Judd's been doing, and actually, he hasn't updated these things. So this was a background task that Judd took on over the holiday, and it's been really successful as far as the progress that is being made. I've been able to do this, but I haven't been able to complete my own test cycle to sign off on it. Let me add it to the list here. So what Judd has done here is he's been taking Vagrant, which is effectively Chef Solo, and some other pieces to be able to script out building a whole dev machine with all the prereqs and everything installed, and I believe it'll even populate the cache. I'm not sure about that though. You populate the cache just by doing the build, but this really helps save time and has consistency for people who are building dev environments. And I think Judd's also gone so far as you can take a output ISO, and Susa, Adam, I know this is different for your side and your process, but you can take the output from the build and then spin it up into a deployment. So it effectively replicates what our build server does, but you can do it as a dev process. So that should keep going because it's really helpful for bringing up new environments and new people. I think Judd's going to wrap that up. He's getting other people to use it, and we're validating it, and we'll do a training session on it, record that training session, and dock it. Okay, that's everything in the doing list. I don't see anything that we can move to done yet, which is okay. But any comments before we switch topics into planning focused, and then first we'll do process? Okay. Meeting times are still okay?
Yep.
Okay. We're targeting 10 a.m. for design review meetings. We can do. I think we've got a backlog. So the thing I would bring up in this is that we've got a backlog of design of synchronous design meetings that we need. I think we need to catch up on them. Are people okay with that? Is 2 a week a reasonable schedule, or is that too aggressive?
I guess it depends on how much involvement you want from our side. In so much, like we're still limited by, the all the packaging and installation steps. So we're not at the point of actively testing and developing Crowbar 2 code in its entirety.
Right.
We're only at the point of like unit tests and so on. So that kind of limits how much use we can be in the design at this stage, which is bad, and obviously we need to change that as soon as possible. But I think you won't see as much involvement from our side in the design, other than in the discussion of the design, which I think we're very happy to be on board for that. I mean, if only just so that we can understand what's going on. I think that's important. But I think we'll probably in the early stages, until we have all the build stuff resolved, we'll probably be less able to contribute just by virtue of not being able to run and test the code.
Okay. Let me break this down like this and just see if we can identify 2 topics for next week, because we need to have this Rails engines discussion. Right. So right now we've been targeting that, not for the 15th. What am I thinking? For the 9th. We've been planning that for the Wednesday the 9th. And I'm okay just doing that one, but I'm wondering if there's another topic we should try to. We can just push. Actually, we can push. This we're going to do. We'll do internal training on, and we'll record it. I'll post it on the calendar so people can come if they want. and these things we can push to the list and then not try and double schedule for next week. And I'm pushing this down, but I'm going to keep that high since that's... All right, so Adam, based on what you're saying, as I'm not going to try and I'm not going to catch up yet.
Well, okay, yeah. I mean, having said that, maybe I put a too much of a negative spin on that, because we have guys like James, who I think is on the call now, who has a huge amount of Rails experience, and when it comes to things like discussing Rails engines or whatever, then I expect we can provide input on those kinds of things, even if we're not actively involved in changing that area of the code at the moment.
What I was thinking is this topic, and this topic we're going to do opportunistically, so there won't be much advance warning. And because we've been making a lot of progress on this, I was thinking this would be useful maybe to do a Jan 10th session on.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean,
because there's been a lot of code movement there anyway, and I'm expecting we'll have check-ins on all those things that are worth reviewing.
Okay, yeah. The engines and the CMDB stuff, I think we're very interested in. The Vagrant stuff, that's open box only, right? Open VirtualBox.
It doesn't have to be, but that's been our focus for right now.
Yeah. Yeah, we're very, very much KVM oriented at the moment.
Right.
So that could, well, hopefully we'll get a wider...
My understanding is Vagrant will work on KVM also, but we haven't tested it.
Okay.
There's active community around non-VirtualBox Vagrant for exactly the reasons that you're resistant.
Cool.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
So this will drive to the list more. It's still early. This Victor's already good at documenting and making statements about. So we'll do that. This we've got to talk about, but we can wait another week. And then I'll leave it to you to schedule that when you're ready. All right. Cool. So that process item is good. Let's talk about what's coming. Anything else before we switch? So the cards we'd had already stacked. I didn't bring anything in from the backlog. Were SUSE CI. So I know that's Adam. I'm assuming that's still in your backlog, and same with the Crowbar 2 installation.
Yeah.
The 193 migration is effectively held up just on the rel pieces, and we can see about getting that. Some of Victor's time to look into that. This one I sent something to the list about. Everybody's been complaining to me that the docs hidden in the Crowbar way down deep subdirectories don't make any sense, and I agree. So I'm going to try and fix that and move it to the /doc of all the repos, and then let it work from there. And then the network view is the idea. So because of timing, we building UIs to allow people to edit the networking is tricky. It's going to take a lot of time, but we want to be able to have people at least view the settings that are there. So our thought is that we're going to use the APIs for making changes to the networking, uh, but allow the UI to show you what the settings are. Does that make sense as a ship ready objective?
So Rob, this is Dave Patterson.
Yeah.
There's a good chunk of the read-only part is done, and it's not complete for this sprint, but should be able to finish the read-only part by next sprint.
Cool. So by having it in the backlog here, that's part of what we're trying to assert would happen. So that's excellent. That's good. So just so everybody's on the same page, what we're hoping, and Adam, if you want, we might want to move some cards. I don't know what the sprint duration is supposed to be. We're supposed to be on 2-week sprints. And so the sprint duration would say that anything in the backlog and doing page here should be finished in 2 weeks.
Right.
So
I think that's pretty much all achievable. I think the only question mark would be around the Crowbar 2 installation, I think.
okay.
And that depends on, yeah, I mean, I'll probably work with that, with Ralph on that, and depends on how much other stuff we have going on. I mean, it's yeah, unfortunate that, you know, normally we would have had a team planning thing later today, but because no one's around, I think that's not happening.
Right.
So.
There's a chance our team has to talk about it, but there's a chance that we'll do some more intermediate review and plan. So if you guys, if we need to get together or just do an IRC mid sprint, then we can do that and make adjustments.
Okay.
Huh. These are duplicates. I'm gonna leave the duplicates. So the background are things that we see happening currently. So pull from source is moving. UFI boot is in our. I'm gonna add. So one of the things that we have going on in the background is the Hadoop side of our team is completing a 1x release, which means that there's changes and updates in Crowbar, UFI included in that. So we'll probably spin a Hadoop flavored release in the open source of 1x. And so I'm jumping because the UFI boot capability was part of what brought that up. Updating the developer docs is ongoing. Hopefully will get collapsed when documentation gets moved. Tempest bar clamp has been making some progress. Andy, do you want to talk about pull from source and Tempest?
No.
Okay. So we go ahead.
So the history of it is that we have a Folsom pull from source. It's a little wordy, but kind of working. It's how much detail do we want to go into?
We don't need to go into much. These things, just enough to say these are going in the background. They're focused on Crowbar 1 right now, right?
So it's actually working on Crowbar 1. Again, there's a branch. We've been working with kinds of folks to get it working. The basics of it is that there's a bar clamp git, and during build we populate it with both the content of Git repositories from OpenStack, and we also blow up the pip requires from within them and from within DevStack, and basically get a list of all their dependencies, both packages and Python modules. All that gets dumped into the admin image, and then basically when you deploy a bar clamp, you have an option of either deploying it from packages, which are bundled into the admin as a regular install would do, or from source, and then basically a lot of the things that packages typically do, like create users and directories and log files and register services, all that is effectively done manually. And the idea is that for Grizzly, we should be able to start testing both Grizzly, but also the deployment of Grizzly before packages are fully stable. And potentially, if end users are interested, they could actually opt to use to deploy their production environment from using this model. Now, one thing that's kind of interesting is that you can actually point either during build or in production to whatever Git repositories you want to consider your upstreams. So, for example, if there are special either locally deployed environments or public Git repositories that have a super duper version of OpenStack with like additional schedulers or hotfix that didn't land in master yet, you could actually have a workflow where you can accommodate that.
Cool.
That enough detail?
No, that's awesome. That's good. So we're having that working in the background, and those will be the basis for our OpenStack work. We'll migrate that to Crowbar 2 as the OpenStack, as the foundations for OpenStack. That's why we're tracking on the list. So we've got 10 minutes to go. I think everything we're showing in the sprint backlog and doing list is achievable. The question that what I don't want to do is I don't want to add to the sprint backlog right now. But what I think we should do is look at the general backlog, at the on deck list, and if in individual planning we feel like we can also take on some of this task, then I would say that the individual teams should move this work, to the to the backlog, the sprint backlog. Does that make sense? Does people agree with that as a process? So, for example, on deck, let's see. This is also, so this is a duplicated card. But I would say that we can move this to the current sprint into the sprint backlog based on what Dave was saying. Although I'm not going to do it. So when our team goes into more detailed planning, we're going to decide if this is a reasonable thing to show up in the current sprint, and if it is, then we'll move it. Does that make sense? Just like, so this is the network pieces. This is continuing on integrating the inbound CMDB.
So,
yep.
Rob, the short version is that we have a sprint planning internally sometime today.
Right.
So sometime by probably early tomorrow, we should see some things going from the backlog to the sprint backlog.
Correct.
And I guess there's an implied question there to ask Adam. When are you guys are doing your sprint planning? I think you mentioned you're doing it. You would have done it today, but folks are still on vacation. So I guess from the SUSE side, we'd expect this sometime next week.
Yeah, I think so. Let me. I don't. To be honest, I'm not sure. It's been decided yet.
Okay.
By the way, that wiki card is now done, right?
The wiki is not done. We've moved the code, and we have not done any work at all to populate the wiki or build a homepage or things like that. So that is still an outstanding item.
Well, I just looked on the Dell Cloud Edge wiki no longer exists, and all the same content is now under the Crowbar organization.
Oh, is it? I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. So I think that was as a result of just
Yeah, I think moving the Crowbar repo ownership, I think just moved that. But if you look at Crowbar, if you look at crowbar.github.com, that's still kind of...
This is Dell. Hold on.
Not much. Right, I think the intent was to go to... no, go to crowbar.github.com.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is where...
So this page is incorrect.
No, what
Right.
happens when you say go to the wiki? On that.
That link just needs to be fixed.
Correct.
yeah, I was going to do that earlier.
So wiki here. Okay.
And all the bugs are there too.
Okay. So
Anything that's not there are the private repos.
So this has been done.
Well,
My concern is this has not actually been cleaned up. So I'd rather fix this to say clean up wiki.
Why not just close that one and make a new one? Because then it
Right.
looks like we got something done.
Yeah.
Well, but we didn't. I would rather.
There
This
was real work in there.
this wasn't the.
Come on, we got something done.
We didn't really. I will humor you, Judd.
I
Sorry.
mean, it's more than just me, Adam.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I created that card, and that was the original intention, was just doing the move. Because at the time I didn't realise that you could do that with a single button click. I thought you had to clone the wiki repository and then push it to the new location.
All right. I'm still very hopeful that we can actually reorganize. So I'd created this page for us to try and create an actual outline, and I'm hoping that will still work. So please. Nope, this is not the one I want. Okay. Because one of the comments we've gotten, and I think very fairly, criticisms we've gotten, is that this is hard to navigate and information is not where people expect. So please take some time to look at the outline, and hopefully we can use that so Dale and Simon and some of the people who are very invested in making sure that our user experience is smoother can start from there and then move forward. So building proper homepage is definitely one of them. Can somebody go in and fix the homepage link?
I'll do that.
Okay, thank you. So we've got those things. So both of these things I'd like to see come in and get done, but they're only on deck right now. Because what I don't want to do is take coding time away to get those done. I do have a deadline, so if people are okay, I'm going to put a date on them. I'm going to pick Valentine's Day. That's all right. Ah, helps if there we go. Because while I don't want it, I want these done, but I want us to be able to announce it. So far, we've done this quietly. So, in the last minute, I went through this and I found what I thought looked like reasonable stuff for on deck. Oh, this is actually done. Here you go, Judd. This one's done. I'm going to done and accepted this. Is everybody all right with that? That we moved the repo?
Yeah.
Yay. And this one too.
Yeah.
So take the things in here. If you see them, move them into the on deck area. If we're going to pull them into the sprint, then pull them into the sprint backlog. I'm really hoping that for the next review, when we look at this, we'll have nothing in backlog and doing and everything in accepted. So, or everything in done, and then we can discuss the accepted pieces.
Yeah, Rob, I just had an idea regarding that
Yeah.
in terms of getting like closer to more strict Scrum attitude towards this we're committing to do this and it's going to be done by the end of the sprint. So some of the things here are, I think, maybe stretch goals. Like from our side, I mentioned the Crowbar 2 installation thing.
Mm-hmm.
So what we could maybe do is have an extra column in between background and sprint backlog for stretch goals.
I'm okay with that. There was a thought, I think, of keeping those on deck, and this would potentially also be oh, here we go, like this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I suppose we could do that. I mean, the only thing is that that's not on the current sprint board, so it's not visible when you're just thinking about the current sprint.
I know.
But yeah, we could do that. Or yeah.
And I just moved this column over. There's a part of me that feels like these things should move to the right as they get closer to being ready, and then things from the right here fall to the left here.
Yeah, I see that. It seems like we're using the columns slightly differently between the two boards. Like in the current sprint board, there's definitely a left to right progression, but in the backlog board, it seems to be more of a categorization rather than you wouldn't move things from testing CI to ship ready, for instance, or ship ready.
I agree with you.
Yeah, that's made it a little hard for me to understand what's going on. Is there a note that we could put up the top next to the purple bunny to say these aren't transitive?
Oh, we've been doing that, Judd, like this. We've been creating notes called with the word sticky.
Okay.
To define the column headers.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'd be useful to have one of those for the on deck, I think, because that's the only one that's not obvious in the backlog board.
Okay. Somebody want to take a? Oh, here we go. So what do we call this? Sticky. Into the planning board. All right. So what I just typed in here is cards that are next to be. All right. These cards are next to be moved into the planning board. Maybe work during the current sprint.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right. They should be split or moved. All right. We'll keep refining that. It's a little bit verbose, but. And then, so along those lines, I would move the build this back to the backlog on deck stretch. Okay.
Okay.
I feel like we're refining this as we go, and I feel like it's getting clearer and stronger. The letters, by the way, we added because these line up to the tool that we use internally, so it helps clarify things for our team.
Oh, okay.
That P means in progress, C is completed, accepted, and design is for sprint backlog. All right, we're over time. Any final items before we close? And I did have one. We'll send an email if we change the sprint backlog and we pull things in. We should. I think we should send an email just to the list or something saying these are items we've added.
Okay.
I think we get notifications on those.
I think we do. I'm trying to formalize a little bit that the list is sort of a record keeping place. If that's all right. If it doesn't work, we don't have to keep doing it. Cool. All right. With that, I know that there's other people on the Dell side that are going to start lining up at 9:00 for our regular planning session. So. Cool. Adam, thank you for joining us. And James, you too. We'll be online, so if you guys have time, we're happy to chat with you.
Cool. All right. Thanks.
Thanks. Happy New Year, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Happy New Year.